Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today we are going to be talking about the devaluation of the dollar, specifically some of the prophecies that say, for example, we're about to see a 50% devaluation of dollars. You say, why would I say that? Well, I've actually got probably more prophecies than I can cover in one 30-minute program about the devaluation of the dollar. Now, the question is when? Because I don't think there's a question that's going to happen. I got too many prophetic words on it. But let's start. And I'll start with probably the oldest one. The story on this one was December 5th, 1999, I had a dream that I was walking underneath a large bank. The bank covered one city block. I was walking on dirt. Looking up, I could see the bottom of the first floor, about 15 feet above me. I noticed the foundation of the bank was made of red brick, the same kind of red brick used to build houses that would never hold the weight of this large bank. I began to notice that the foundation was only one brick thick and had large holes in the foundation every 10 to 20 feet. Well, that's sort of where our finances are right now. In other words, the banking system is not backed by anything. It could easily fall. All of a sudden, the bank began to shake. The bank fell about halfway to the floor. What was 15 feet to the ceiling now was only 7 foot. Instantly, I was surrounded by a mass of terrified, screaming people. They were running in all directions with no place to go. It was panic. That has not happened. Even back in 2008, when apparently the whole world's financial system really was about to implode, I've never seen people in panic, not in my lifetime. So I think that's unfulfilled. Now let's go to Maurice Sklar, December 1, 2011. The American dollar is about to lose 30% more of its present value. This will be the second drop since the previous 2008 drop of 20%. The dollar will then be worth half. I think it's interesting that both of us saw a 50% decline. The dollar will be worth half of what it was in September 2008. This drop will cause great economic distress in our nation. The church will be shaken, and many will wake up spiritually and cry out to me. There will also be looting, rioting, and terrorism in our land. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? There is an even greater financial disaster that is going to befall Europe that will collapse the euro, cause panic and chaos there. Germany will refuse to prop up the euro anymore. Basic needs, which, by the way, I understand that has to some degree already happened as in the process. I'm not an expert on that, which, by the way, I need to give you a disclaimer. This is not a financial program. We're not giving anybody financial advice. We're talking about prophecy here, okay? Basic needs in the poor European nations will be threatened. Many will lose their money overnight as the stage is set for the financial takeover of the Antichrist system. That's what... As you recall, finalwakeupcall.info has been saying for a long time that there is a new QFS system that is going to be a gold-backed system brought in, and the old fiat system that we've had, well, under the control going back really somewhere around 300 years, if you want to know the truth of it. But the old system is going to be replaced, so they say. This is imminent. The dollar will also follow, although it will survive for a season more. The Great Revival will also begin. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Have we not heard this many times from many different voices? The Great Revival will also begin. God has hidden his holy apostles and prophets for this present hour. There will be great outpourings of supernatural provision, miracles, healing in various places. These areas will become cities of refuge and places of refuge for God's people. There's also coming an all-out war in the Middle East, as the neighboring Arab nations will come against Israel with a sudden missile attack starting from the north with Hezbollah, Lebanon, and Syria. Other Arab nations will join. Israel will be hit from all sides at once, and there will be deaths and partial destruction of settlements, smaller cities to the north, and some damage to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem as well. Israel will respond with great force, and limited nuclear weapons will release devastation upon the neighboring countries, particularly Lebanon. Damascus will be destroyed completely, and the rest of Syria, as well as military strikes in Iran, Gaza, and even northern Egypt and Sinai region. The resulting of the shaking of the West will then release a tremendous movement of Jews making their way back to Israel. There will no longer be security or stability as it has been up to now in America. Is that because of defund police, abolish police? See how it fits together? In the mouth of two or three witnesses, let a thing be established. Israel will emerge victorious from this war, but hurt. However, the devastation inflicted upon the attackers will be 100 times worse. The spoils of this war will include much territory and will force the West to recognize the Holy God of Israel. It will emerge as the only stable country in the region. Even millions of Arabs will be killed. Islam will receive a mortal wounding by the Holy God of Israel. Haven't I been saying this? Have we not heard this in the mouth of many people? Okay, let's go on. Dana Coverstone, a week ago, said, I saw businesses shuttered and closed up. I saw schools closed. I saw schoolrooms with cobwebs hanging in them. There were things like papers falling off the wall with posters. It felt like no one had been in them for months. I saw, here it is, bank buildings with the roofs taken off. It looked almost like an alien abduction because money was just flying through the roof into something like a vacuum cleaner. I saw wealth being taken away. That's our topic today. All politicians in back rooms, making deals with people, patting each other on the back, laughing and smiling and smirking. I saw monuments. I saw Washington, D.C. burning, set ablaze. I saw capitals surrounded. I saw state houses, state capitals surrounded, people screaming, making outrageous demands. I saw all the curtains pulled in the Oval Office in the White House. I saw nobody moving around. I was shown inside the actual Oval Office, and I saw no one in that office. No one was seated in the seat. There was no cabinet members, no secretary, no one in the Oval Office. I saw a long conference table. I saw senators, but I did not see Congress. I saw members of the Senate recognize the faces, know the names. I saw them sitting in a room, very peaceful, no rush or panic. Now, I don't know what that is, but I'll tell you what keeps coming to my mind on that is martial law. Now, let me briefly explain. The difference between a national security and martial law is this. National security puts the power in the hands of the president. But he has already declared a national security, 6-8 weeks ago over COVID. This is martial law. Martial law suspends the Constitution for up to 5 years and puts the control of the country in the hands of the military. Based upon this and some other things, it looks to me like things are going to get bad enough to where probably martial law will have to be called, and that's the reason there's no one in the Oval Office. I don't know that as thus saith the Lord. I'm just trying to piece things together like you. Now, on to the economic collapse. In the second dream Dana Coverstone had, he said, in this dream, we just had a yard sale to help fund going to Ecuador this year. I asked our secretary to get some change for the yard sale. And they said they went to the bank, and on the door it said, there's no change available. And then he goes into the story about he couldn't get any pennies, nickels, dimes, or quarters. Well, probably, I'm going to say I've had over 30 emails at askstan at prophecyclub.com that have given me everything from stories. They've emailed me pictures about various places all across the country that are saying that there's no more change. That's all part of a new currency coming in. Okay, now obviously, if they're going to be coming out with a new currency, then anything of value of the old currency, of course, the paper is worthless. They're just going to probably burn it or grind it up. But the coins, well, they have worth. So that makes sense to me that they would be pulling in the coins in anticipation of a new currency. Now let's listen to what Terry Bennett said. The predominant issue of the first period from 2008 to 2015. Now remember, we got a delay. Okay, we got a respite. So these dates aren't exactly accurate, but don't throw the prophecy out the window. He says, Gabriel told Terry that in 2008 would be the beginning of economic sorrows in our nation and in the world. During this time, the great economic wealth of the United States will be neutralized, and the military power of the United States will be greatly diminished. And that was true. The economic problems would be the primary cause for the military being weakened. He says there will be a change in the U.S. currency. A different currency is going to come, at least one, that will entail the U.S. no longer being the reserve currency of the world. Now let's go to Shane Warren. The scene changed. I was taken to a room in the Middle East. I saw India, Syria, Indonesia, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, Russia, and China. And they were all talking about how to devalue the dollar by getting them to trade in oil or gold other than the U.S. dollar. Now let's jump to another place within something else Shane Warren said. The devaluing of the dollar caused major rioting in the streets. I saw silver, not gold, begin to drastically increase in value. I saw riots begin in major cities all over America. People were rioting in the streets, and signs were saying, "Give us our entitlements. Give us our entitlements." Now let's jump to something Janice Plowden said, 3/3 of 2013. This is the summarized version. I dreamed there was a great wealth transfer. Now, several of these people have said that there's a wealth transfer. Proverbs 13:22 says the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. And also Neville Johnson of Australia prophesied there's some kind of a wealth transfer coming. So anyway, but rather than rejoicing, it was sorrow. Soon after the dollar was devalued, in the dream, I was speaking to my builder, and he told me the price to renovate my home had increased from $100,000 to $200,000 to now $1 million because the dollar had dropped in value. Everything cost more. I saw people frantic. A few were blessed. They had a little cushion, but they knew it would not last long due to the devaluation of the dollar. Everyone's face was in panic. The blessing was not going to help much because the prices had skyrocketed. As I looked around, people were panicking. They were running around trying to decide what to do. They were trying to decide, do I buy groceries? What do I do? Many of them finally began to realize that what we had been warning them of was now true, was now here. Fear and panic was in everyone's faces. Most could not be comforted. Nothing to hope in. Great fear and panic was everywhere. May 2018, Pastor Massey called me. He said he had a dream. The Lord told him that the Federal Reserve will be gone. God will bring in a new dollar. Then 10/29 of 28, he also called. He said the Lord spoke to him in a dream and said he had just returned from large crusades, thousands saved, miracles, deliverances everywhere. And he said that he was impressed that the old things are burnt up. New things are coming. Old plans and sins are being destroyed. New plants are now starting. I will send the blessings from the north, south, east, and west. This comes from Doug Metzger. He says, I was in Bolivia at the time when I heard the Lord say America's collapse will start financially. In Bolivia, at the time, inflation was staggering 2,300% because they printed currency with nothing backing it. The United States is doing the same thing. My friend there had bundles and bundles of Boliviano, Bolivia's currency, and he asked him what he'd do with it since it's worthless. His reply was, they use it for toilet paper when in the jungle. Also from Doug Metzger. I woke up startled with a horrifying prospect. By the way, all of this is in the book, God's Warnings to America. 1 for 20, 5 for 35, I think it is. 5 for 30 at prophecyclub.com. God's Warning to America. Anyway, I woke up startled with a horrifying prospect. In the dream, I was calculating the inflation rate of the dollar. It was 10 to 1 plus a little. The meaning was, if something used to cost $1, today it was $10.50 the very next day. Money as we know it became worthless quickly. The dollar became worthless, Doug Metzger. Another place, he says, we're actually facing two great events. The greatest time of horror the world has ever seen, matched by the greatest revelation of God's love mankind has ever witnessed. A revival the world has never seen, coupled with difficulty the world has never seen. Well, again, that's what the Lord told me. August 8, 2015, this is a time of miracles. As the judgment hits, so will my miracles. This from Daniel Daves. He made a DVD for Prophecy Club called I Saw the Dollar Dead. He says, then suddenly a man looked like a government official appeared on the big screens and began to make an announcement. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. America, as you have known it, has ceased to exist. All property lines have been dissolved, and the U.S. dollar is worthless. Then in another dream, he said, I saw USV pull up to a gas station. An entire family was in the vehicle, and they all looked very worried. They had thrown all of their belongings in the trailer, strapped them down, and they were headed west. The father jumped out of the SUV and came up to the man and said, I need to get a full tank of gas. He pulled out his billfold to pull out some U.S. dollars, but the store manager said, I don't take U.S. dollars. The father looked around concerned and said, well, what do you take then? The manager asked, well, what do you have? The father and the manager both walked over to the trailer and started looking through it to find something of value that he could trade for a tank of gas. The store manager clearly was going to choose whatever he wanted to allow the frantic man to get some gas. Then, January 9 of 2005, over two dreams, I was shown a series of suitcase nukes would explode all across America. Regardless of who actually plants the explosive or who they blame it on, international bankers, as in the deep state, the Khazarian mafia, whatever you want to call them, will be behind it. One of them, here is the key, would hit a regional bank, knocking out their account backups for thousands of customers. It'll do two things. It'll throw America into a financial collapse and put billions of dollars into the hands of the international bankers. Now, again, that was January 9, 2005. At the time, I didn't understand how blowing up a bank could be good and put billions of dollars in the hands of the international bankers. But right after the Hurricane Katrina and the floodwaters and the disaster receded, the people went to the bank to get their money. The bank told them that they had lost all the records in the flood, but that any alleged funds would be returned to the citizens if they could prove their pre-Katrina funds. When the people explained that they, too, had lost their records in the Katrina hurricane, the bank simply kept the money. I recorded the dream on my recorder and went back to sleep, and the dream continued. I saw a second dream. Two people in long black robes, kind of like judges and nuns wear, were walking, one behind the other. I could not see their faces, but my impression was that they were spiritual leaders, very trusted by those around them. They were carrying a pole, and on the pole, suspended between them, was a galvanized 5-gallon bucket. It had what looked to be like soapy water in a bucket. Inside the water was a bomb. They were carrying it through a crowd. The people were laughing, dancing, and partying like a fiesta, had no idea of the danger that was coming through them. Now, at the time, I didn't know that the way you transport a nuclear device is in some kind of a mixture that looks like soapy water. Others say, well, I think it's heavy water. I don't know. All I know is it looked like a galvanized bucket about 5 gallons, and it had this soapy water-looking thing in it, and I was made to know that there was a nuclear device in it. Well, we have now for a long time been talking about these 20 to 50 suitcase nukes that have been secreted in America, all across America. Now, let's tie all this together. So the first dream is talking about a 50% devaluation overnight, which, by the way, the reason I brought this whole thing up is yesterday got an email from someone, and they had a dream that all of a sudden, overnight, the dollar was devalued by 50%. The dream said that the banks closed down for a few days, and when they opened back up, all of a sudden, everyone's account was 50% what it was when the banks closed. Then Maurice Sklar saw that the 20% drop was back in 2008, and he was told that there's going to be a 30% more drop, also meaning 50%, in the dollar, and it will also happen overnight. Then Dana Coverstone said that he saw money flying out of the roof of the banks like some kind of a vacuum cleaner. He saw the wealth being taken away. He also saw that coins are no longer going to be used in our society, and a new currency is coming. Then Terry Bennett was shown. There will be a change in the U.S. currency. A different currency is going to come. Then Shane Warren was shown that the dollar will become worthless, blowing in the wind, worthless as leaves. And then Janice Plowden saw that there's a 1 to 10 inflation, which is also what Doug Metzger was shown, a 1 to 10 deflation. In other words, it was $100, now you've only got $10. And apparently this is all tied in to a lot of trouble in the streets. Does all of that sound familiar to you? Because it certainly sounds familiar to me. Okay, so what do I think? I think that two things are happening at the same time. Apparently, the world is about to go into a time, according to Neville Johnson, I've read it before, but remember he said he saw the man turned upside down and great wealth was falling out of his pockets, cancer cures, and many, many things like that. I think that what we're looking at is a change, a split in our world, And God is going to say that this is the time of miracles, miracles like no one has seen all the way back to Adam and Eve. And in that time, there's also going to be judgment. Now, ask yourself this: do you believe that judgment has come to America? Do you think that COVID-19 was part of the judgment? I know that God did not release it because I do not have one prophecy saying that there was going to be some kind of a virus coming that year, specifically in March, that is outside of Dana Coverstone. So even he was not told it was going to be a virus. Anyway, let's go on. So I do not believe that the virus was released by the hand of God, but I do believe the hand of God did not stop it from being released. And many times God will speak to his prophets and say, I allowed this to come upon the nation because of this and such, which of course is usually sin. The next thing is, do you believe that the riots in the street, these police officers, these white police officers shooting these black people, do you think that that's the hand of God? Because I do. I think that that is the hand of God forcing the Statue of Liberty to drink. Remember, we read that from A.A. Allen. So it is the hand of God that is bringing this nation down. Now, what are some other judgments? Yes, we're looking at if Israel splits, it's going to be Donald Trump splitting it, America splitting it, and we can probably look for a New Madrid fault. And a great earthquake hit the New Madrid area, and all of a sudden America's in big trouble. So I think two things are hitting our nation at the same time. We're going to be getting many, many great blessings somehow, somewhere. Bible says it. Proverbs 13:22. But then at the same time, there's also going to be burning, looting, and apparently, if they proceed on with this abolish police thing, defund the police, I mean, right now the police are resigning in mass. I mean, it may not be hitting the news, but rest assured, it's happening. If they're not tendering their resignations now, rest assured that their resumes are being updated. They are looking for other jobs. So two things are happening at the same time. There's a split. There's great trouble hitting our nation, and hopefully, according to the prophets, according to finalwakeupcall.info and other sources, there's about to be a great blessing. Trump says that we're about to come into a time of unbelievable wealth and prosperity. Okay, so that's kind of things have split. In other words, there's more good, but at the same time, there's more bad. So I think that's where we are right now. Okay, Stan, you got us all scared to death now. What do you think we ought to do? I would say you need to ask yourself a couple of serious questions. If you are not allowed, or if you are afraid to get out of your home for a year, do you have everything in your home to protect you? If the police is defunded, and it's back to the old West days where every man for himself and you got to protect you and your family, are you prepared for that? If the suitcase nukes do go off here this year, do you have potassium iodate pills to give you and to every member of your family so that your thyroid doesn't get killed from the radiation and then everybody in your family die from what could have been an easy fix, simply getting potassium iodate pills? Yes, Prophecy Club has them. Next thing is, do you have some kind of store of wealth? Hopefully you have something other than dollars, paper dollars and something like that. In other words, like gold and silver and rhodium and things like that, which of course you can get at cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Just tell them Prophecy Club sent you. And of course that helps us too. Do you have food? If you need to get long-term storage food so that you'll have something to eat in your home, then yes, there's a place to do that too. You want to go to heavensharvest.com. I just talked to them yesterday. They have a new shipment of food, and yes, they're still going crazy out there. People are still buying long-term storage food. This is the good stuff, the stuff that you can actually eat instead of when you open it up, your wife says, I'm not going to eat that. Okay, so you need to get something your family will eat. So again, heavensharvest.com. You use the promo code STAN. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Mention Prophecy Club. Get those potassium iodate pills at prophecyclub.com. In other words, I think that there's a high probability that our nation is about to go into chaos like we have never seen. And right now, brothers and sisters, more than any other time, it is time to get prepared. As you know, I make many broadcasts referring to a list of dreams, visions, audible voices I believe are from God, given to Dimitri Duduman, Michael Boldea, Leslie Johnson, Henry Groover, Shane Warren, Terry Bennett, Maurice Sklar, Augusto Perez, Doug Metzger, Bree Keaton, and more. Now you can have your very own copy. It's called God's Warnings to America. 1 for 20, 5 for 30, 10 for 55 at prophecyclub.com. God's Warnings to America at prophecyclub.com. With our relationship with heavensharvest.com, they have all sorts of emergency supplies and food at heavensharvest.com. Their food comes in square stackable buckets, breakfast, entree, protein, fruits, and vegetables at heavensharvest.com makes it easy to order. I recommend you have at least 12 months of food for every person in your family. Receive a free box of heirloom seeds when you enter the promo code STAN. That's heavensharvest.com, promo code STAN for emergency supplies and food at heavensharvest.com. In 2017, I memorized the book of Revelation just as a simple project. Surprisingly, I began to receive information on 30 revelations and 2 visions beyond what is found in the Bible. God showed me a secret door, which is based upon a single word found in Revelation and Leviticus, linking the feasts to the prophecies. When linked, a person enters into an understanding of Bible prophecy not previously known. Even though I've been in the world of Bible prophecy for 40 years, frankly, I did not know anything of what is in this book. One prophetic word described it this way: there is a lock that I have put over a word in the book of Revelation that I'm going to open to you. It will turn so many books written on the end-time message into obsolete books. That's this book. Topics are: Jesus returns on what feast? The secret of the feasts. Who are the 2 witnesses? What is the morning star? The judgment seat explained. The great white throne explained. The nations explained. What is the shout? And the parables explained. Seals, trumpets, and vials go in what order? 2 amazing prophecy charts on the back flap, 12 inches by 9 inches. Imagine a book on prophecy that brings a fresh, new, accurate perspective. I don't want you to get one book for $20. I want you to get 5 books for $30 or 10 for $55. It's called The Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy, available at prophecyclub.com. The Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy. 1 for 20. No, don't do that. You want to get 5 for 30 or the best deal, 10 for $55. prophecyclub.com. In my new book, Miss the Mark, I expose the 9 deceptions the beast will use to deceive, if it were possible, even the very elect. Since Lucifer is only given 3.5 years to rule the world, but given 6,000 years to prepare for it, is it possible he has set up a 9-point plan so well thought out, so cunning, will deceive all whose name is not written in the book of life? What would you do if you had to tell a person the most important thing in the world, but you knew they wouldn't believe you? What would you do? Would you tell them? I believe you would. But what is the most important thing in the world to tell a person? The answer is, don't take the mark of the beast, because those taking the mark do not get soul death, but eternal torment in hell. But how do you tell them? Give them Miss the Mark. It is designed to be given to anyone, even if they've never heard of the Bible, Jesus, even if they're in another religion. It takes them from a blank page to making sure they will never take the mark. It's thin and easy to read. 1 for 20, but don't do that. Instead, we make them available in lots of 10. 10 for 25, 20 for 40, 40 for 60. That's 1 for 20, but don't do that. 10 for 25, 20 for 40, and 40 for 60 at prophecyclub.com. That's Miss the Mark. Don't take the mark of the beast. prophecyclub.com. You can now watch 160 Prophecy Club recordings without interruption. The introductory rate, $20, recurring monthly subscription. A 1-year subscription is a gift of $200. You get the first 3 days free just to check it out. Watch prophecyclub.com.